Hello? Hello, 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 hello. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Happy Friday. Happy last day of May. I mean, like, damn. Hey, Glitter. Hey, Jazzy. 12 minutes left. I don't know what to do with that. I don't have much I can do. It's only 12 minutes, Jazzy. Until her lunch break's over. What can I do in 12 minutes? I don't even know. Hey, Yobi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. I've been non-stop all week. All week. Journey June always does this to me. I'm good, Yobi. I'm good. I'm a little scatterbrained, but so is she. You need to get run outside a bit, that's all. Like if you just take her out and just run her, you know, she'll be fine. It's like 80 degrees out though. Why is it whenever I start talking, you just want to yell at me? What is this?
It's almost like your tone.
Yeah. Maybe it's like when I talk to her, I almost talk the same. Now you can do your grandma chatter, but none of that. No barkies. No barkies. Hey, magic area. Aw, Jess. Stop. She's replying back. Yeah, we talk to each other. I think that's the problem. So if she's around me and she hears me talking to people, she probably thinks I'm talking to her. So it's like, how do I, tell the dog, hey, I'm not talking to you right now. Okay? I'm talking to these guys and pointing at a box. I don't think that'll work. I don't think that'll work at all. How are you guys though? Who's gonna do Journey June? A. And B, who's amped for it? I want to know. We're getting a really good response this year. I'm pretty surprised, for one thing. I mean, last year, we had a surprising turnout too, but this one, people seem hyped. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure why. Is it just because it's a different kind of challenge? Is it the story thing? Like, I'm really interested why this one, I don't know, it seems to call to people. I love it, but I'm just so curious. Hey, Deli! Yeah, yo, you definitely are. I love all the preliminary work you've been doing. Chatty dogs. Yushin. Good! You know what? I'm glad for that, because we did want to be a different challenge, but the hardest thing is being a monthly challenge and trying to explain to artists it's not an art challenge. Last year was kind of a mess, just because so many people thought it was an art challenge, so every day they're trying to fully illustrate, that day's story prompt, and I'm like, oh my god, no. Because you're going to probably change a story 3 or 4 times before you're done. No. And I couldn't really message people well enough. I could spam every day, and for some reason people still wouldn't see it, so I didn't know what to do. So I hope at least this year I've been doing better at kind of getting that across. But if anybody has any questions on it at any point, like we've said, we'd rather have you ask than just rage quit. Because we've had people that... This is the weirdest thing, and I'm going to tell you guys right away, if you do decide to quit, don't tell me you're quitting. That's the weirdest thing, okay? Because not only is it not, you're not supposed to be trying to impress us, right? You're supposed to be trying to impress yourself. You're letting yourself down. So don't apologize to us, and B, it makes me feel weird. How am I supposed to react to that? I'm sorry? Even though I'm not? It's really weird. So if at any point you decide to duck out, just duck out, Just slip into the ether and the shadows, just, Hey, Meddy. Glitter, you for sure will. Just keep it loose and keep it rough, alright? Oh, Yobi, thank you for the bits. That's very sweet. Aw, Yushin, we're gonna miss you. You did so awesome last year. Your story was one of the ones I enjoyed reading throughout the month. Hey, Fricka! How you doing? So, I figured this stream, since it's the day before June, if anybody wants to start day one right now with me, or at least, you know, try it, and, you know, you've got that extra day now before tomorrow to get kind of either a buffer done or just to kind of practice, ask some questions while you're trying to do it, any of that sort of thing. So is anybody actually going to do it right now? I'm super curious. Let me know. I really want to know. You're welcome, Glitter. Yeah, I think Medi and Deli, you guys are the only people I've heard about actually teaming up on a story. And, you know, that's totally fine with me if you want to try it out. I'm interested to see how it'll go, honestly. Gabe and I have collabed on stories before, and it's worked pretty well, so, I mean, if you can do it, awesome. Alright, question. Would you suggest doing a story idea which you're more excited about and maybe more likely to complete, or something which doesn't excite you as much but is simpler? Honestly, I would say find a happy medium, because the first one, well, a story idea you're more excited about and maybe more likely to complete, or something which doesn't excite you, which is simpler. Absolutely always this excited one. Always do the one you're more excited about, because anything you're not excited about, you're almost 100% not going to finish. And on the live stream the other day, and I'm actually going to put in the link to it, for anybody who's new to Journey June or wants to hear a bunch of things about me saying, hey, do this, don't do this, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's basically what that link is. But one of the things I say in that video is to always go with the excitement train, go with the motivational thing, because if you get this spark and this flame to do something, you kind of have to go do it, kick it out of your system, or else you're never going to get it back. I actually likened it to nostalgia. If you think of one of your happiest memories, right, and you try to put yourself back into that exact moment in that exact way, but you're like 20 years older, it's almost impossible to, right? So in the same way, going back to a story that maybe you weren't as excited about, or doing a story that was older or something, it's almost better to always start new, start fresh, start on fire, than to try to recapture a feeling you had while doing another project. Do it all at once while you have the fire burning, or else you're never going to rekindle that. Literally. And it will never be the same as when you originally wanted to do it. It's kind of scary to think about, but that's really about seizing the moment and that artistic integrity that you've got. Just go with it and pump it out. That's why it's super important also to just get a rough draft out while you're feeling it, because you're just going to ride that wave. If you kind of get too hung up on names or facts or anything like that, it's going to pull you out of that passion and kind of kill your mood. So it's almost better to just write the whole damn thing out and be wrong about some stuff. In fact, check it later in draft 2, right? Just get it written, because you can't edit something you don't have. So get it out. No matter what, just get it out, okay? It's so important. You're welcome, Manny. Isn't that fun, Yobi? Yeah, so the other day when I was talking to you guys about doing the expression poses, doing instead of doing a turnaround that's super dry and super lame where they look like scarecrows, did anybody do the poses where they're like doing normal stuff like sleeping, eating, all those sorts of things to kind of explore the character? Did anybody do that? Did it help? I started doing that with my Clover Pip, and this is her. I've just always called her her. I call everything a boy, by the way. Like, all my stuff I usually ever have, I enjoy having little boy things. I don't know why. It's weird. But for some reason, this character just keeps telling me it's a girl. So, you know what? It's a girl. So the other day, I started doing my character sheets. And this is a little sneak peek into further in the story, which, since I did it last year, I kind of know that there's going to be other characters. So I'm including my other pips from my Patreon. If anybody's in my Patreon, these guys will look familiar. They're the Maybell pips. And the whole reason one's carrying a leaf and one isn't is because the plant requires partial shade, right? So I liked the idea that they were very much, the plant's lore was very yin and yang, like a Gemini thing where one is kind of darker, one is the light side. So it had a lot of that duality to it. So I was like, why don't I just turn it into two little guys? And, you know, one is always in shade because to establish partial shade, you need full sun on one and shade on the other, right? Since they're yin and yang. So he's always carrying a leaf around, so he's in the shade. And he's always cranky, and I love it. And so they're kind of a little trio, and they'll come in later. They're probably around Sticky Situation, I think, is when the next characters come in. So I just think this is too cute. So I'm having a lot of fun with this. I wrote down a couple notes so far. So another thing you can do to get hyped about something is, this is one of the sketchbooks I like getting that's just super simple. It's tiny. Make sure to make your stuff tiny this month, okay? Like, tiny. When I actually start doing like the scenes, they're probably really only gonna be, God, less than 4x6. Honestly, even smaller if I can. There was one story, I thumbnailed the entire thing out using a ticket stub from a movie theater. As a template, I just go, do the scene, go, do the scene, go, do the scene, and that really helped me stay in that moment and just get it out, just having that little template. So I don't care if you're doing a comic, I don't care if you're doing a kid's book, anything like that, you're gonna probably want to do squares first and foremost. And I'll cut this out real quick. So I suggest making a little template that you can just like repeatedly, you know, trace, so you never have to worry about what it is. And I was making little Journey June pin things. And since I love you guys, I'm gonna show you. So some of you know we did order Journey June pins. Okay, so those are coming, enamel pins. So I made a little pack for them. For those that know the Clover Pip pack, it's a little bit bigger than the Journey June one because the pin's a little bigger. So that ends up opening and the pip's in there and it tells some stuff about it. But the Journey June one you open up and it says what it is and it tells about it, and then you open it up again. It says why it is and who it's for, and then you do it again, and this is the entire prompt list. So you could bring it with you, and then the pin's gonna go here. The pin is about 1.5, which is a little bit smaller than this lady here. So that should be really fun. And then on the back here, it's kind of like a match thing. It's got our info and stuff. So we're gonna be selling those as soon as we get them, which is supposed to be today, but I think they're gonna kind of get it here tomorrow. So anyway, I would suggest having a template of some kind, you know, whatever size you're gonna do, you know, trace it. I do have dedicated sketchbooks for things, and the only problem I have with these sketchbooks, I like them because they're an off-white, okay, they're not as computer papery white as other stuff, and they're just smaller, and I usually like do it landscape. I don't know why either, I have no idea why, but I might do it this way just so I can fit more boxes this month. But there's only 24 pages, which kind of sucks when it comes to monthly challenges, because this was my Mermaid one. I filled the whole thing for Mermaid, but it's like, since it's a monthly challenge, and since I'm probably gonna do more than one square per prompt, it's probably gonna get full. I mean, unless I can fit numerous prompts on a page, which I'm gonna probably try to do. But anyway, let me check the chat. Sorry, I am rambling. I'm just excited. I love Journey June. Like, if I wasn't in charge of it, I would be doing it every year anyway, so I don't know. I guess that's a good thing, right? That's okay, Kellen. At least you're here. Yay! I'm glad, Maddie. Thank you. Bye, Jazzy. So heartstring. The cool thing about this is I'm actually not breaching any part of what I tell you guys not to do. So I say before June hits to create your hero, right? And I say just create them, don't world build, do not world build. Just make your character, make them super solid, have their outfit and what their accessories are and stuff kind of reflect, you know, what they do, their occupation, maybe what they do on a daily basis, anything like that, right? Have it pretty obvious, their era, all that stuff through what they're wearing, and they're going to end up actually telling you what the world has in it. I know that sounds kind of backwards, but if you world build before you do the characters, you're going to end up making a cage for your characters, and they will not be as full of life or anything that they could have been if you made the world around them. So with that in mind, I had just basically done that for this. I did like the heroes' likes and dislikes and such, and that's about it. Honestly, all this stuff that I already kind of told about is kind of already said here. So really, there's nothing that I'm going too far with have made this. This is basically like a character sheet, honestly. So going forward, it's all new stuff. So however, if you do have this, I don't know if are you one of my Curious Collector patrons? Do you have one of these? Because if you do, there is one part of this on this side with the bee. Huge part of the story. Huge part. God, it feels like the door's open. Was the door open? It's so hot all of a sudden. God, it's 80 out. Yes, Kitchen, you're getting a Clover Pip Journey June story. And the Maybell Pips, they're in it too. Yay! For those that know the Maybell Pips, they were May's Pip. Speaking of Pips, if you guys like the Pips, you'll probably end up liking my Patreon tier. It's a Curious Collector tier. And it's basically a subscription story every month that I give you that comes with a button, 2 buttons actually, a lore sheet and a buff, which is basically me kind of giving you, I wouldn't say a horoscope, but it's kind of like a fortune for that month that this guardian has bestowed upon you for that month using their powers, if that makes sense. So I think the Clover Pips was that you were extra lucky that month, something like that. Obviously because it's based off of Clover. But this next month for June, I'm stepping away from the Pips for a minute because I don't do them every month, and not everything I do is a Pip. The Pips are just flower folk that I do every once in a while, but June's is actually going to be a creature that's based around tornadoes. I know that sounds a little bit crazy right now, but I assure you it's going to be cute, and it's already got kind of a cute side story behind it. So because, you know, weather lately has been a little bit crazy for some people, tornadoes have been nutty, I actually figured it'd be kind of thematic and, I don't know, might be kind of cute to add in. So, you know. But yeah, if at any point you guys have questions about Journey June stuff in any way, feel free to ask. So, I established kind of her job. She is a dew collector. So she collects dew, and because she has, like, no hands, really, like, nothing for hands, I had drawn this first thing here of her actually trying to collect dew. I was like, this is ridiculous. There's no way. She has no hands, like, no arms. She cannot collect dew. This is not going to work. So I gave her a giant spoon. So now she has like a spoon in this. I was originally going to do a basket because I have a thing for baskets because I love woven patterns and things like that. But anyway, I decided it should probably be a little bit more water resistant, waterproof. But since she's so small, the dewdrops, they maintain their shape. Kind of like jelly, you know? So they're kind of like little bobas in a way. But she kind of plops them into her little satchel behind it, which honestly, this concept is very similar to another story I have, if you guys remember my raspberry mouse. But, you know, I figure if I just do all these stories and they have stuff like this that's kind of similar, that's just one of my, I don't know, style choices. Because I have a thing for baskets and little tools and things like that. So she's got a spoon for dewdrops that she collects. So I'm thinking my first day, since it is our hero, and I'll read it to you guys too, so you know. And for those coming in that don't know what Journey June is, or have no idea what we're talking about, this link should help. It's so cute you're dying. Good, because she also doesn't have arms. So with things like that, you know, if you design a hero that you really like how they look and such, go with it. You know, if they, if you just like how they look, you can work around that. So me giving her the dew spoon, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit strange, but at the same time, you know, Kitchen, that's the first time you've seen it, you think it's cute. I think it's cute, and that's why I wanted to do it. So, you know, just because they don't look or act like a regular character doesn't mean that they're badly designed, I guess. You design it how you want to design it, and then you can kind of work everything around it, if that makes sense. You can make it work later on. Just get a design you're happy with, you're excited about, and everything kind of falls into place. So, day 1, which is tomorrow, but if at any point you get a giant chunk of time during the month, highly suggest getting ahead. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not that busy this month, I don't care. Get a day or two ahead, which is like an extra 15 minutes, half an hour after you've done the days, because you never know what's going to happen in a month. Okay, sometimes something will come up, maybe your car breaks down, that takes up your whole day maybe sometimes, or you have to work a double, and just your time goes out the window like crazy. So it's usually good in any one of these monthly challenges, regardless if it's this one or another one, to actually build up a little bit of a buffer. That will help you, I swear it will. Okay, so the first one here is our hero, a full body shot of the hero during a normal day. What is their job? Where are they? Focus on who they are and what they do. So this does not have to be just one shot either. None of these prompts have to be just one illustration. If you want to thumbnail out a couple different things, or like if you do plan on making a comic, you might want to start thinking in terms of like storyboards and such. Because, you know, you might want an establishing shot of the village, you might want to zoom in on them from far away to them close, show what they're doing before you show the rest of them. Like I might even do that. I might show some leaves, close up of some leaves with some dewdrops on them, and then this spoon kind of coming out of nowhere, and kind of, you know, it piques people's interest because you haven't shown them too much yet. So you can establish a place so they know where they are, and then zoom really far in to kind of get them curious, and then you're going to pull back out a bit and actually show what's going on. That's kind of a common thing with introducing, like, you know, a story. Eliza, hi! The buffs do help? Which ones? Alright, and then June 2nd, Call to Adventure. That one I keep going back and forth with whether I want to break it up in the future into maybe more than just one, and getting rid of one later, because Call to Adventure is kind of a loaded one, and it bothers me that it's the second day, just because it is a little bit more thought heavy. So maybe finish day 1 as soon as you can, so you can start thinking of, you know, day 2, because it is a little bit heavier. Basically, that's the catalyst to get them out of their world and to start going out on their adventure. It's the thing that gets them out of their normal routine. So it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, it could be something stupid, it could be something awesome. Try not to be too cliche with it. is the only thing. If you think of an idea and it immediately reminds you of something else you know, try to put a spin on it or change it. Because that usually means it's a cliche go-to, you know? Or the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to write a couple options down. You know, be like, you could even have a list that says good things, bad things, whatever, and be like, well, their mom dies, or they get kicked off the farm, or their spaceship breaks down, or, you know, like anything. You could even introduce the main villain right now if you have one. Have him come in and kick everything down, burn down the village, whatever. Like, it depends on what you want to do with the story, who your demographic is that you've kind of thought of. If you're like, yeah, I'm making a kid's comic, or kid's book, or this one's for adults, and it's sci-fi horror. Like, if it's sci-fi horror, you can totally have the villain come in right now and just burn down a ship and kill a bunch of people. That's cool, but if it's for kids, you can't really do that, you know? So you want to think about the demographic, kind of where you want the story to go in terms of tone. You know, that's super important. Oh, buffer drawings, I see. Sorry, I thought you were referring to my Patreon thing. Ugh. I'm not quite with it yet today. Yeah, right? Eliza is like the queen of doing monthly challenges. Eliza, how many months have you done in a row without missing a monthly challenge? I'm really curious. She's even thinking about doing 2 this month. Like, she's nuts. She's cuckoo bananas. Seriously. Okay, Spongy, so if you... This is actually great that you said this. When you get to a point in a story where you have no idea where to go, okay? One of the things you can do is take your little hero again and do the sandbox test. If some of you were here for the live stream the other day, it's also on YouTube. If you go here, and I go into it a little bit better than I will right now, but for the most part, you take your hero and you think of it just plopping it in this wherever, a scene appropriate for them, right? And just have them start walking and have them start interacting with obstacles. Like, throw down a rock, see how they interact with it. Do they get mad at it? Do they crush it? Do they jump over it? Do they get scared of it? Like, how do they react to it, right? That's going to tell you more about the hero. And then when you get to these points where you don't know what direction to go, hopefully by this time you've kind of played with the hero enough to know what they'd want to do or what their world would do to them. Alright, so start throwing things that are bigger at them then. Like I was saying, like the ideas of what tone you want. Do you want it to be a heavy story with lots of drama? Do you want it to be kind of comical and maybe they chase a butterfly off a cliff? Like, what do you want? You know? And depending on how you've drawn the hero and how you're feeling at the time about this story and what you want to do, you should be leaning more towards one or a couple options. And then write those down, or at least remember them, and to just sit back, because honestly, this requires so much thinking, and that's why this challenge is hard for people. The drawing portion, not so much. Honestly, it's more about thinking. So sit back, take your best couple ideas you've got, maybe 4, right? And sit there with your hero and be like, all right, if you went down that route, where would it take us? And just sit and think about that and see them kind of living that way out. And if they get to a point in that, you're like, nah, that doesn't feel right. Switch over to a different option. Try that one. And really just think. Close your eyes and just think about it. And then one of them will feel a little bit better than the others. And if you do have extra trouble with this, it might actually be because you don't know your hero well enough yet. And you don't really know what you want to do with your story. So maybe just pull back out of the whole prompt thing and think about your story and what you want for it. Oh, Serenity! 17 months. Good Lord. You guys are getting up into these numbers that I just did not foresee. Serenity, I'm going to give you the nub rubs real quick. You ready? Here is our sub-shrub. Ready for nub rubs. So, sub-shrub nub rubs. Commence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Serenity, thank you so much. I love you. Though I wish I could give you Patreon stuff. Like, I'd rather you be on my Patreon. Can we do international people somehow? Like, if I made a separate tier that included shipping for international. Do you think that would work? If they wanted it? Serenity, if you're interested in that at all, let me know, because I would totally do that.
Well, it's gonna be like, how much is it now?
6?
I guess it would be
It'd be like $20.
Well, it'd be 12.
Oh, 12. That's not
I think
bad.
it's only like $10 to ship that little package.
That's not bad. Chasing a Does that help, Spongy? I hope so. And you guys, all of these Twitch, like, Journey Junes we're going to do throughout, me and Gabe. Remember, Gabe is the other half of Journey June here. He is Galvasaur on everything. So, on here, on IG, everywhere. Galvasaur, spelled like that. He streams on Wednesdays, usually at 7 p.m. Central. So if you're not here on a Friday, you could join in on a Wednesday, and he'll be working on his. He has a really cool idea this month that I'm kind of jealous about. So get excited for that, because it's going to be super cute. But if you can't make my streams, try to do his. And if you can't make either of them, they're going to be recorded. So you can come back on Twitch and see them, but you can also go on my YouTube and see all the past ones too. So lots of options. Whatever, floats your boat. Kitchen says, hi, Gabbo.
Hello.
Gabe is here. He's grinding right now for Cake, which is a comics and what's the K?
No, it's Chicago Alternative Comics Expo.
They spelled it with a K?
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it makes, it's cute that way.
It's zines anyway, so the past, 2 days, he's pumped out, 4 zines?
Printed them out.
No, how many have you made, though, in the past week? 6?
No. I mean, maybe
Because you got the mixtape.
Maybe 3.
3 new ones?
Yeah.
But, 6 overall? I just see different colored paper, and I'm like, what? You crazy. I know, right, Glitter? I'm excited, too. Oh no, is anybody else's video delayed? I know my internet's been weird lately, so hopefully it's not me. Okay, so I am getting ideas too, and this is what a sketchbook's for, you guys. I don't want you to think your sketchbook has to be pristine, because really it shouldn't be. And if you guys are, there's a few of you here that are long-time watchers that are very used to Gabe and I talking about this, but you want a messy sketchbook. A messy sketchbook is a happy sketchbook. And even if you got blank spaces, it's totally fine. You should have messy stuff. You should have things that aren't fully done. That's a sketchbook. They're ideas. It's basically letting your brain just go and just drawing or writing down whatever you see, and then having another sketchbook maybe that's your final sketchbook for polished things or something. I don't know. I've got 2 of those, and they're only for commissions. But I also have these littler sketchbooks that are for things like this. If you think of an idea, write it down. If you just kind of want to do a pose, just do that. I didn't feel like fleshing that out. I didn't need to. You get the silhouette. It was more about these guys and how they'd follow her. So that kind of stuff is really important. Remember, though, to decide on a size for your, what do you call it? I don't want to say panels, because I don't want everyone to think they have to do a comic. Because you can do a comic, you can do kids book, you can do 1 illustration per prompt, whatever you want to do, whatever kind of book you want to do. If you want to do something that's never been done, that's half comic maybe, half kids book, whatever you want to do, I don't care. But I highly suggest just starting off with squares. As you're planning this, just start off with squares, draw in what you plan on doing, and then later on when you're actually doing panel organization or anything like that, you could take one, and I think, let me show you what I mean. Okay. I'll just take this one. This wasn't my example on the other thing, but this will work. Let's say I wanted this to be a longer shot and to be pulled out more, right? If I edited the story 2 more times and I found out, nah, this needs to show more with it, what I could do then is, and this is way too done. Like, this is concept art, you guys. Actually, you know what? No, that's gonna confuse people. Hold on. I will use something else. Wait too. Okay. Yeah, alright. So these work. Like this one may be too pushed in, right? And these are all squares. This was last year's story. This was the caliber I did every one of them. Look, I don't even have this finished. Why? Because I don't need it finished. Because I know what's around there. Oh, I don't know. Just leaves and junk. I don't have to put that in. Don't waste time on things you don't have to do. Get in the key things that you do need to do, and that's all you need to do for now. So a lot of it is just thinking of camera, staging, motion. But like, let's say later on I want this to be a longer shot, but right now it's just a square. Well, you can kind of guess that, well, she'd be probably pushed in a bit more, shrunk a bit more, and then the camera would go out longer, and then I could fit 2 panels up above. So yeah, and because you did it at this quality, you know, it's a rough, you're not wasting any unnecessary time, right? If you need to change it, it's not a big deal. All that kind of stuff. Like, it's more important than anything you keep this super rough, because that's really what's going to matter in the end, is just getting the story made, right? So I highly suggest just making squares. And like, this square is, look at my pale veiny hand. It's about the size of my palm. It's like 2 by 3, something like that. It's usually a post-it note size. I actually find post-it notes are a really good size for storyboarding. Though I've run out because I use them like crazy. Almost. It's a little bit smaller than a post-it note. But you could totally do that and fit like 4 of them on a page, basically. Oh, yours is fine? Okay, good. Good. Does anybody have any other questions right now? Alright. So I already drew out basically what her job is. But how do I want to come in on it? I draw a lot of, when I'm doing stories, a lot of my characters are very solitary and actually outcasts now that I think about it. I only have one of my stories where they're not an outcast. They become one! They, like, a lot of my stories have, like, the main protagonist kind of being either alone or an outcast. Weird. Anyway, so in this story, she is, well, technically she's very rare. So you know the whole thing with 4-leaf clovers, right? And that they have this thing with being rare. Well, the whole lore behind her is that it's not the 4-leaf clovers that are rare, it's the pips that are rare. And pips are basically flower people. They're not fairies, but they're actual flowers that are animate, but they're only born every so often. Like, you know, jackpot type winnings, you know, ratio. So she's very rare, especially for her. Like, there are other flower pips that are more common than she is, but since she is the pip of a clover, it's like the cream of the crop sort of thing. So I work that into the story that she's kind of sought after by a certain thing because of her exclusivity, right? So her thing is that she's rare. But that's her kind of reason for being alone, I guess. And it's a better one than my usual ones. Because my usual ones, like, I have a mouse story where the mouse is kind of alone because I don't think I ever say it, but he lost his family. So he's just kind of a crotchety old man. Kind of like Up, a little bit. I guess if I had to give him sort of a persona. He's like Mr. Fredrickson, a little bit. I think so. Was it Mr. Fredrickson and Up? I remember the kid having kind of a lisp when he said, he's like, Fredrickson something. Yeah, but he ends up like having a really nice little character arc because he gets a dog, so to speak. Anyway, we'll do that later. But oh, bye, Glitter. Thanks for coming. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Yeah, Frederickson. I can't believe I remembered that, honestly. I swear to God, I would unintentionally nail Jeopardy. I remember so much random crap. So, I think I might start off. Now, even if you're not 100% sure of how to begin or end something, it doesn't matter. Just choose something and go with it. Because once you look over a story a couple times, once it's in its entirety, you'll see the things that stick out really badly, and you'll be like, no, that needs to go. That doesn't fit this anymore. Because what it starts out as and what it becomes can be a total 180, right? So once you get to the end, your characters and stuff have changed so much that something that you may have put in the beginning just doesn't work anymore. And that's what doing a draft is, right? So once you get to the end and you realize, oh, I could totally fit this thing in the beginning and it would make it so much stronger because they'll have seen it, but they didn't know they saw it. That sort of thing, you know? So then you go back to the beginning and you work that in and you kind of bring them up to speed. Now this is where a lot of people have trouble too, in the sense that if they've been working on something for years and years and years, and especially if they're an artist and writer, their art style can change over that much time. Your art style can change in a year, right? So this is another reason to pump things out as soon as you can, like together, or else, you know, you're gonna vary. So last year's story, I still really want to make into a book, right? And I haven't gotten a good chunk of time to actually do a run at it for this reason, okay? I have it complete. I have a bunch of stories complete. I just need chunks of time to actually work on them from start to finish because I really don't want to break it up, have some months in between, and go back to it when it's not fresh on my mind how to draw it again. And you forget things like, you know, little consistency errors, stuff like that, and even the style. If you're not in it and you get pulled out of it and you come back to it, it's foreign to you again. It's just like exercising or anything else. You get out of the loop and it's really hard to get back in. So I highly suggest to do this all at once when you can, you know. So at least push through, get the story done, and if you can't right away start illustrating it to the full extent you want to, hold on to it a little bit. Because at least it's done. At least it's, you know, in its entirety, so you have this thing you can go back to. And then we actually had someone that last year did a story. They didn't quite finish it, so they wanted to finish it this year, and I was like, you know what? If you really want to be a storyteller, just start a new story. Just have more stories. Get in the, you know, process of making more stories, because it's quantity over quality, right? And at this point, it's been a year. They're not going to remember anything about that, right? So you might as well just start something new and get attached to that. And it is kind of sad, because as artists, we kind of get attached to the things we make, but you have to learn to let go. And that is one of the hardest things, especially when you've got OCs and maybe you've role-played with them, or if you're, I don't know. I don't know what people do anymore, but I don't know if people still role-play with their OCs. I feel old. But, yeah, it's one of those things where it's better to just start something new, you know, and like a new relationship. You know, instead of trying to make an ex-boyfriend-girlfriend work, start new. Get some new experience, right? So, in that case, back to this. Even if I'm not so sure about how to start it, but I have an idea, I'm just going to do that idea. And if by the end of the story I think of a better way to start it, do that, right? So immediately my idea was to do the establishing shot of kind of a forest, show, you know, maybe even zooming in a couple times so we know how small she actually is, because she is small. You know, she's, I mean, I've thought about this, but if the Maybells are as big as they are, and the Maybells are this big, and those are the Lily of the Valley, by the way. If any of you guys know the flower, the lily of the valley, the one that looks like it's kind of like a fountain. Looks like this. The top always kind of bends over. It's kind of got alternating bells, right? This one, and then it's got leaves that are kind of crinkly and tall, kind of like this. Actually, the bottom's thick. You know? You guys know this flower? So this is the lily of the valley, but it's also known as the Maybell. So I made an executive decision for the sake of my pips, and I just called them Maybell pips. That's easier than saying lily of the valley pips. So they're this big. So if they're that big, and a regular Maybell bell is probably the size of my pinky nail, she's probably, God, she actually might be about the size of the pin, if not a little smaller. Either way, she's probably pretty close to the size of an actual clover flower. Because you guys know what clover flowers look like, right? The ones with the tops that are little bulbs and they've got little petals on them. That's what she is. Her bottom, though, is a 4-leaf clover. So from the top down, and sometimes this is good, too. If yours has a really interesting top silhouette, I would at least draw it once. So you've got this top, and you're looking down at all of her petals kind of coming together. Maybe we'll put in her eyes right here. But she's got this one petal here, okay? Another one here. So from the top down, yeah, it is a 4-leaf clover. Like if she was sitting down, and then her hands come out of these petals here, these leaves. And then she's kind of got this bib. I don't even want to say it's like a bib though. There were Victorian women collars that actually this reminds me of. I didn't try to do this, but if you look around her neck, there's that little frilly bit there, and the flowers actually have that. But now that I think about it, it is very Victorian. I did that without realizing it, but let's see. Whoa. Yeah, so I think I will have us kind of zoom in. And it's okay if you don't even see the character for a little bit. What you could also do is, if you have this idea for this kind of sequential in your mind where you're like, oh yeah, and the camera pushes in and then it does this thing, and then you come in and they're like in this corner of the frame and blah blah, and you've got this whole sequence. Last year I actually ran into this problem where I was doing too many for every day. So Instagram actually caps you at, how you can swipe on one post. You can only do 10. So every day I was doing like 10. And that's when I was realizing, I might be doing too many of these. But at the same time, I just got out what I wanted to and, uploaded it and figured if I need to add or remove some later, I'll just do it later. But if you would rather just kind of jump to the meat of it, similar to if you were doing an animation, doing keyframes instead of all the in-betweens. So if you don't really care about, the public seeing the setup to reveal the character, if you just want to show that reveal for the sake of either time or that's all you want to show right now, go for it. Just do that one. That's totally fine. The only thing is you can't combine your prompts into one image. You can do however many images you want, however many posts you want for one prompt, but not the other way around. Does that make sense? Because one way you're like cheating out of days of the, story where you can't really combine that. If anything, we've like skimmed it down too much, from the actual hero's journey. So combining days is just, no, it's not gonna happen. But the other way around is totally fine. Totally fine. Does that make sense? I am talking so much. You guys. It is, and it's okay if you don't explain the story sometimes. Yo! Is that good to go 100%? Hell yeah. Ross would be proud. Hi, John. So, it is hard to explain the story with less Medi, but it's more like, what can you do that day? Can you just do that one, that one part of the story? Or can you do more and maybe you just don't want to post it? Or maybe you do 20 of them and you can only post 10. So it's kind of up to you how much or how little you want to post. I would say at least do the key shot and post that. So good to go 100%. Hi, Jaeger. Are you Matt Jaeger? You my Jaeger? Or are you a random Jaeger? Alright. The only thing that sucks is if you have and I'm just such a jerk that I usually just rip out my concept work so I can look at it while I'm doing like thumbnails and stuff. Or another thing I do is, and this is kind of smart, not to give myself a pat on the back or anything, but if I do something like this, sometimes I'll take a picture of it with my phone and start a Google Drive folder so I have my references on the go. So if I forget my sketchbook or whatever and I have a napkin and I get an idea but I want to reference them, I've got them, so. Matt! Yay! Really? You went with Jaeger Bomb? I'm just kidding. Glad to hear. Thank you for coming. How you doing, Matt? Happy Friday. Okay, so yeah, I'll just start it. It's gonna be boring for you guys to kind of watch because it is just gonna be scribbles for the most part, but it really shouldn't matter too much. Hey, here's another good thing. So if you are gonna make that template that I told you about for the squares, I would actually make it out of something pretty durable. So this is actually a comic board. You'd be surprised at how good comic boards are for doing this type of crap. I made one for like doing like I made a window of it so I can just be like, oh, I want to make a 5x7 for this frame. So I just slap it down and just trace it. It's so nice just to have that. I think it was two. I think. Gabe, I am so sorry I stole your ruler. I'm sorry and I'm not. Oh, well, it's kind of an obvious nickname, really. I mean, if your last name is Jaeger and you don't at least go by Jaeger Bomb at some point, or just Bomb, like, what are you doing? Makes sense to me. I just thought it was a little too obvious, that's all. It's like, come on, be more original. I'm just kidding. I'm giving you shit. Alright. So, this is the point of this. So you can just do this, put it down, do this again. And like I said, for one of my stories, I used a ticket stub, and it was awesome. It worked so well. So what I usually do, so I can just go on to the next one, is do a page of these. And honestly, if you don't care what kind of paper you're using, you could just do a template in Photoshop and print it out on computer paper. Honestly, I would almost suggest doing that. If you don't care that it's in a sketchbook or not, yeah, just do it with computer paper. And then what I do for a lot of my stories is I get these accordion files. So if you do have a bunch of loose leaf paper, like say computer paper, you can get these. I got a little bit crazy and got a, like, I don't know what this is, like a burlap sack or some crap. But the accordion files are nice because you could have a section for concept art, you could have a section for the first half of the story, second half, whatever, break it into quarters, eighths, whatever you want to do. But it is really nice to have those options, or each one of these could be a different story. Depending on how much work you do for a story, maybe you could just fill up a whole accordion file with Journey Junes, stuff like that. They're very nice. Gabe, though, how do you keep yours? You just keep them in Sketchbook? How did you do last year? Your stories, like, Were you doing it in a sketchbook? I thought you were doing loose leaf.
On the actual page?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was loosely.
You used Bristol, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that now. Do you have any of those handy? I would love to show one. Gabe's story last year is really cool. Oh, Gabe uses a triangle one all the time. Like, you love your triangle ruler.
I don't use it that often, but...
You used to.
I used to.
When you were doing more, like, hand-drawn comics and not as many digital.
Yeah.
I remember you just always whipping that out. Awesome. Okay, so these were actually Gabe's pages from last year.
Bottom is the concept.
Oh, yeah. Gabe did some really nice concept work for this, too. We had a big talk last year with you guys, or at least the Twitch community, about concept work. Because a lot of people have misconceptions on what it means to be a concept artist. They see a lot of posts on Pinterest of like one character and they look great, so they think they want to be a concept artist, but they don't realize you have to do so many drawings and be okay with getting rid of like all of them potentially and doing 100 new ones, like things like that. So when Gabe was doing like the main ship for his story last year, he did a lot of different sketches, right? Shapes and whatnot. He ended up on this cutie, which I flipping love it. It's adorable. It's simple and it's effective. I love it. He also did this character sheet for his guy, Kip, and these little guys here. He ended up on this one. We called it a shrug because it was a mix of a shark and a pug. Yeah. So it's a shrug. But this was Kip. We didn't know whether to make him an alien or a human or what have you, so this ended up being the final one. That's why he colored it. But then there's the bad guy. A bunch of different ideas for the bad guy. And remember, you don't even technically need a villain for your story. You could Miyazaki it, where a lot of Miyazaki movies don't even have a villain. Their villain is just a guy that's trying to do what he's gonna do because he thinks it's right. Like Lady Eboshi in Mononoke. She just wanted to help her people. You know, her like motivations were good. Just her execution was bad to other people. The people of the forest, but to everybody else it looked right. There's nothing wrong with it. That's politics, man. That's totally politics. But or like in Ponyo's dad, he's not a bad guy. In fact, he does good things for the ocean, you know? But he just got weird when his daughter left, that sort of thing. Where's this shadow coming from? Is that this? Oh, it's from that. Okay, never mind. So then this would be an establishing shot of this little ship hangar, right? So that helps set the scene. That helps people know where they are. Because if you just started with this, that could be an establishing shot, but it's almost better to show what kind of a world it is before you get in here. You could totally do this, but this is very helpful. And then it shows, you know, Kip working. So this is next level, though. Gabe's been doing comics for 20 years. We do not, I repeat, do not expect you to do this. And if you do this and it looks bad, I'm probably going to tell you to scale back. Because you might not be used to this yet. You gotta know when to use certain things and whatnot. So he did a whole story last year, and it was awesome, and I really liked it. My story last year didn't have a villain, technically. The villain was more of an idea, or a giant bad thing. It was technically sickness. Here, Gabe. Thank you. I appreciate you fishing those out. So that was last year. But this year, I'm going to do it a little bit, I think, I'm going to try to be more simple than last year even. Let me catch up in that chat real quick. No, it's okay, Matt, don't worry. What was the hashtag for yours? JJ Kip Shrug?
That's what I know.
Are you looking it up?
No.
Okay. I'll look it up. I'm gonna look up Gabe's hashtag for his story so you guys can see what it was. Remember, that's important. So if you guys are making a story, make sure to make your own hashtag for it so you can find it easily. So mine was JJ Hazel, and I'll find you that in a minute. So you can look at both of these. Gabe's Inktober was really cute too. Here we go. Kip Shrub. I actually really like all the stuff you put with it, like the notes at the bottom. That was really nice. So that one is Gabo's. So Gabo, JJ, 2018. And then mine was and you want to make sure that the hashtag you choose isn't being used by a ton of people. Otherwise, you're gonna get your story and people's like trip to whatever mixed in. That happened actually when we first started Journey June last year, and I was using hashtag just Journey June. So many other people were using it eventually that I was like, dang it, okay, well, next year we'll add the year onto it. Which, in the long run, it's a better idea anyway to separate it by year. So, I mean, you can do as many hashtags as you want. You could do hashtag Journey June to be part of the giant one, and hashtag Journey June 19 to be part of this one, because it's like compartmentalizing folders, basically, and then you can make your own too. So you've got yours, the years, and then all time, basically. So it depends on how many you want to put in. You can always go back and put them in too. That's up to you. But let's see. Okay. So if she's collecting dew, maybe, I don't know if I want to zoom all the way out to show forest. I think just showing, honestly, leaves might be enough. And just showing kind of a bunch of these right away. And then, what? Pretty girl. Aww. Is this your Game Boy printer?
Yeah. Doesn't it do like little fortunes?
Oh, that's really cool. So Gabe has this little, it is a Game Boy printer? Or is it the label one? It's like a Game Boy printer, but it prints out kind of crappy, cute little receipt type things. So he was going to do these for people at the show. Look at our cute baby. She's so fat. God, she's fat. I love when you're coming up the stairs and you get that front-facing camera look at her. Oh my god. She's so fat. She is so fat. Anyway, so yeah, just a couple leaves showing there's dewdrops on them. I could even have one kind of... Ooh, okay. So here's an idea. I just got it. While drawing this one dripping off, maybe we follow this dripping one down to the ground where she is collecting them. And actually, maybe she's not even on the ground. It'd be really cute if she was all those that slid off leaves. I've always liked that. So, you know, work in things you like. Like, if I get excited about it and it puts a smile on my face, I'm gonna do it. So, we'll follow down this droplet, right? And this is where things add up. This is a shot of a shot, following it down, blah, blah, blah. But if you do end up making a comic, you can kind of condense those. Like, they could be a couple really long panels next to each other showing it, or one long one showing it in different stages. But, you know, don't do it unless you kind of know what you're doing, I guess, at the end. Don't worry about it right now. So, zoom in on that one. Follow it down. Let's see. So it can get kind of crazy just getting too close to things. Bye, Yushin! Enjoy sleep! Hey, Wubbles! Oh, she is fat, Serenity. My dog is fat. Like, we keep going back and forth on if we're feeding her too much. I mean, she's kind of tubby, man. Yeah. And like, see how her head is right now? That's how she looks down at us when we're coming up the stairs and we, you know, can see her from down below. And she's got like a billion chins. It's fantastic. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's big. She's a big girl. But she's technically still a puppy. I love it. She's so large. I like my little girl big. Alright. She's chonky. Yeah. She's chonkers. 100%. Speaking of chonkers, are you bringing chonkers? Gabe has a coloring book called Chonkers. And a game. Technically, it's a game. Coloring book. Coloring book game. So what we can do here is if we follow down that droplet, and let's say it bursts here, right? In the background, we could see her silhouette maybe gathering, you know, a droplet. We'll do this because I do want to show her a little bit smaller than that. So, and see if this was just, if I was just doing one, I'd maybe already be done by now. So these should not take you guys long at all. Like, I am seriously hoping that it only takes, I don't care how good you are at drawing, to get an idea out that you understand should take like 15 to 30 minutes tops for one square of these. If you're doing multiple ones for, you know, kind of staging, sequentials, okay, that's different. But for just one shot for a prompt, this should not take you long. And if it is, you need to figure out why. Is it because you didn't have your idea fully formed before you started drawing it? Is it because you're still a little confused? Or maybe you're putting too much detail in. Remember, no detail. More space to cuddle. It's true. I get to choose the role. Which role is the role I want to cuddle today? Okay, so. Still small. I still want to make her even smaller. So she's here. She's gathering a droplet over here. And I usually like to put in just the shape of their silhouette. So really it would just be, you know, her head is a circle. And honestly, I just draw this bottom part as kind of just a squiggle, just to know where the leaves are. And then where her eyes are. Those are the only things I'm usually putting in so I can tell where she's looking. And which way she's facing. That's about it. Otherwise, you don't need much else. And even at this point, you probably still don't know what's going on, and that's totally okay. Because I will zoom in even more. Alright. So following a droplet, a little cliche, it's okay, but the one reason I'm okay with it, even though it's cliche, is because it's very, very pertinent to her and her job. If her job was not to collect dewdrops, this would be a little bit cliche, okay? Just because it's something people use just all the time. Right, randomly following something down, and usually that thing they choose is a water droplet or rain, something like that. But in this case, it is so thematic, it almost feels like a crime not to do it. And it is kind of tried and true to be a good thing, so. You're welcome, Matt. Thank you for getting the pin. I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, take her with adventures. Yay! Oh, if you do, can you take a picture of her somewhere? I'd love to see that. Oh, if we even made like a little tag. Anyway, I'm going crazy. Anyway, have fun. I think that'd be really cute. So is anybody drawing theirs right now? How you doing? Any confusion, questions, comments, snide remarks? I actually had a teacher that at the end of his lectures he'd say questions, comments, snide remarks, and we'd always be like, kind of chuckling about the snide remarks, like, well, we've got them, not gonna say them. This is also the teacher that for your birthday, he would get up on a stool and he'd point at you and he'd say, happy birthday, sin and sorrow everywhere, people dying in despair, happy birthday. And that was your birthday song. And he would do that for everybody. And it was crazy because it was so damning, the way he would do it. It's great. Yeah, right? It was great. He was a good teacher. He was one of those ones that was a little outside the box, because I remember one time we had just, during our poetry unit, we studied, songs as poetry, right? Because duh. And he turned off the lights and we would just listen to songs and focus on, the lyrics. So that was one of our classes that, quarter was just to listen in the dark to musical lyrics, and it was great. For me, it was great. I don't know how other people thought of it. Some people are probably like, oh, this is lame, but I loved it. Anyway. Hey, Rifter, how you doing? Oh yeah, the going through trees, you're totally right. That's another one. There's a lot of cliche ones, but if one fits you and you can make it your own still and not feel like they've seen it before, not the way you show it to them, then you make it your own. That's the same way with anything. If anything inspires you, don't take it directly. Use it as inspiration for something and make something new, right? Make it yours. There you go, Rifter. That's great. It's a really good exercise. I feel like he was doing it for the people, though, that may or may not do that normally, so it was kind of outside their comfort zones. Because, this was high school. If it was college, it would have been a different thing, because most of those people there are artists. But in college, or high school, you've got nerds, you've got jocks, you've got artists, you've got all these types of people, so it was a little bit more crazy then, Oh, let's see, okay. How do I want her? This is interesting, okay. So now I have to think about her tool she uses and how she's going to use it. Does she swipe and grip it? Does she push the plant so it kind of ploops into her thing? And then I kind of like that. So this is actually the fun part for storytelling or anything, in my opinion, is thinking of how things work that you have actually designed or engineered. A lot of my stories have tools and things that the characters have made themselves that they have made for a specific job or task that only they do. And to me, that's really, really cool. And it actually lends itself to the fact that I love tons of kitchen utensils that have one use. So like a melon baller, or an avocado slicer, or an egg slicer, or, oh my god, I ended up buying, I'm an idiot, and I know it, but there's, that apple slicer that you push down on all the sides and it slices an apple all at once? They have that for an onion. Okay, I have the apple one, but I bought the onion one too, because the onion one has like more sections to it, so it's more like you do that and it dices it. Anyway, so I love lots of tools for specific reasons. I really, really like that. I don't know why, but it works itself into other parts of my life, which are really, really interesting. I just realized this, but when you learn about yourself through your art, things like that, it's just kind of neat. I don't know, I think it's cool. I had an onion slicer, I know. I bought a knockoff slap chop like a couple months ago. Piece of crap. It was at Target. And usually Target doesn't have crap. Okay, but it's white and it has a green top thing for the smash in. It's crap. It's utter crap. I hate it. It works like crap. It's crap. Do you think it's crap? It's crap. I don't know why it didn't work. And then I started feeling lazy because I was like, I bought this thing. It's crap. In the time it took me to actually chop this onion, I could have chopped 3 onions, and then I felt like crap. It's just crap all around. But that's okay. That happens, I guess. Okay. So, I don't want it to be... I am so surprised she's sleeping. Did you take her for a walk or something?
Just walked around outside. Back there.
And it tired her out pretty good? Okay, so now I'm trying to figure out... it's gotta be bigger. This is an extreme close-up, so I'm okay having things pretty big. I just want to show how it's pushing the leaf. So remember to draw light for like 80% of what you're doing. Because if you draw dark right away, oh my god. If you change your mind, like I've changed my mind about 5 times here. If I drew dark and like into the paper, I'd be screwed. I'd need all new paper. Draw light until you know everything that's going on, and then if you really want to, you can go back over and darken it. But really, like some of these I'm like, why? I don't need to. One of my favorite things with drawing water and water droplets is drawing in the refraction inside of the droplet and showing how like the droplet's distorting what's behind it. Okay. Yeah. That should work. And then that, there we go. So that's that. And then after I show it going in there, then I want to show it plopped into the back here. So this could also be kind of a extreme close-up, or at least a closer close-up. This is also where it's important to do those concept sketches, because through doing these, you're going to figure out how big things are. So this is the scooper she's using right now, the spoon, right? So figuring out how big this is compared to her is really important in the shot we're doing right now. Okay, because this is her head, right? And she's taking the spoon and she's lopping it back into her backpack, right? So I have to know how big the backpack is to her head, right? And how big the spoon is in comparison to her head. So it's just good to know, well, it's about the width of her head. About. And then same here, the sack's a little bit smaller. So it doesn't have to be precise right now because remember, this is still rough draft scenario. So... That's great, Rifter. That's what art's about. If you ask me, man. That's why I feel like artists have a better grip on the world, because they're constantly searching themselves, right? So they're searching the world all the time. It's like AI, where it's constantly learning, where some people aren't as reflective or curious, I feel. And that's not meant to be a diss, but that is just how some people go about things. They're just not as aware, not as curious, not as involved, you know? They're just going through the motions. So, yeah, I'm not surprised you're learning about yourself. That's great. Alright, so this. Right. And this is what I'm talking about, you guys. When, you know, people are like, oh, I want to paint my Journey June. I'm like, no. Don't you dare. Last year, I ended up yelling at so many people. This year, I don't think I'm going to do that, because if they, at this point, with how much I have harped about keeping it simple and just doing roughs. If they're doing paintings, I'm just going to be like, all right, if you fall off, you fall off. You got to know better, you know, at this point. So I'm not even going to go after people this year. Last year I felt so responsible for it because it was kind of our first challenge. So I don't know, I felt a little responsible for how everyone would do, and I shouldn't have. And I think that's just normal. I feel like if I had immediately not thought that might have been weird. You know, I think it's natural for you to kind of, if you're making a class or anything where people are learning and you're kind of responsible for that not feeling that bit of conviction is, you know what I mean? Like, you have to feel that if you're in charge of something, I think. Okay, Eliza, let's hear it. What are you thinking? Talk through it. I will help. And this is what I like. I like it when people actually come to us and they're like, all right, here's my problem. Here's what I'm having trouble with. You tell us, and then we kind of work it out together. Some people just quit. And I would much rather have you come to us and explain your problem, explain what you're having difficulty with. Because this is the 1 month. We're basically showing you how to do a story for free. And we're giving you our time for free. You know, and if you end up buying a Journey June pin, cool. That helps us be paid for our time. But for the most part, it's just we're here to help you because we want to see some people succeed. You know, and there's no way they can really be helped because honestly, I've looked around. There aren't very many like storytelling tutorials that are set up in such a way, you know. There are story templates that you can look at where it's just an outline and it doesn't really help you. This at least helps you, you know. And a lot of people don't even have I'd say even an art community all the time. So having just the option of somebody to go to that is willing to answer your questions like that just doesn't happen, man. So we wanted to be something different and something that could really, I guess, make a difference, you know? But yeah, if you guys have trouble, that's why we're here. Yeah, kitchen. That's exactly what we wanted it to be. I mean, it's only for a month. Yeah, but a month is better than nothing, right? As I put up on the thing, something is better than nothing. That's like my favorite motto of all time. I used that when I was losing weight a while ago. I did end up losing 50 pounds thanks to that, but just saying that some exercise is better than nothing, some practice is better than none, that whole thing. I mean, if you get some pizza, that's better than none, right? Of course. If you get one tater tot, it's better than no tater tots. Alright, so this is going to need some rejiggering later. Because I think I actually made her bag a bit too big. But that's okay. That can be figured out later. This is just storyboard, planning, that sort of thing. Okay, so I did a sequence of 6 here. Okay, we still haven't even showed her yet, so we haven't even done the prompt. But if you just skip to the prompt, like you just want to do that one thing, you don't want to do sequential, totally fine. Think of how quickly that could be done. If I hadn't done 6 of those drawings and I just needed to do 1 of these, come on, you guys. This is what I'm saying. Like, you can finish this in a month. Otherwise, I almost want to say if you can't finish this every day where you're just doing a thumbnail, you might want to rethink some artistic things, you know? Like, I mean, you agree with me on that, right? If someone can't do a thumbnail in a day.
Well, if it's like, if you're really new to it, if if you're fresh, like you don't draw like ever.
Like, yeah, if you don't draw, that's one thing. But if you draw, like you're an artist, you should be able to get a thumbnail, you know?
As long as you can read it.
Yeah, as long as you understand what's going on and you know you will be able to in like, you know, a month away, make sure it's at least clear to you. Ideally, it'll be clear to other people too. Like hopefully if somebody looks at my thumbnails from last Journey June, they'll be able to follow the story. I'm sure at a couple points it's probably a little messy, but for the most part, you know, it should be pretty good. Princess Hero versus Space Dino. Princess Hero much rates itself, but Space Dino. Which do you feel more excited about? And which do you think, I mean, tell me the pros and cons of both. That's what I usually do. If I'm having a problem with this, well, the pros of doing the Princess Hero would be this, this, and this. The cons are it's been done before, this, and this. Space Dino, kind of a cool concept. No one's really done it. Cons, space, maybe you're not familiar with space. Maybe sci-fi is not your thing. Like, you know. So doing a pros and cons list and kind of feeling it out by the end of the list, you might be swayed more one way or the other. It's just that maybe thinking about it as a whole sometimes doesn't help you decide one way or the other because they're so muddy in your head. So once you start actually, you know, writing down bullet points, it can get easier. Okay, kitchen. Alright, so she had just plopped in her back. And this is the reveal shot, I think. So now... Now I'm wondering, I should be talking out loud. Now I'm wondering if I want her to put away her spoon and kind of tug at the leaf and have the droplet come down into her hands and show her kind of eating it. So we learn that's food for her, you know? Because when I established her as the hero, one of her things was that her favorite food was the very first morning dewdrops, right? Because the sun touched them first, right? So they taste extra good. So she's collecting those, but we see her collecting them, we don't know why, but showing her actually eating one will tell us, oh, they're food. So thinking of things like that throughout your story, and believe me, this took me so long to get to this point of being able to pick out things like this, but the more stories you do, the better you're going to get at this, so quantity over quality, remember that. That's exactly what they are, Eliza. Is that all of them, though? Like, could you keep going? Like, maybe start trying to even look at the list. Where is it? What is hitting? Oh my god, that scared the crap out of me. I didn't know she was down there, and she just, her paw, like, did this thing, and it hit me in the foot. It's like, what is that? So anyway, if you look at the... Shower? Okay. If you look at the list, and these, okay, so I don't know if I showed these. I'll show them again, or I showed them at the beginning. So these are going to be the Journey June pin things. This one's kind of rough because it was one of the first ones. But the pin will be right here, okay? And then it says what it is, who and why it's for, and then it's got the entire list here. And I thought this would be really nice to bring with you. So that's why I did this way, so that you'd have a portable one that's, you know, I think it's very important to have both, like, digital things and physical things. I'm kind of psychotic about that, so, you know, just in case you lose your sketchbook or get stolen or something like that, having pictures of them online, that's why it's good to use Instagram as your sketchbook. because really you'll never lose your sketchbook stuff then. And if it gets blurry or whatever, So, Eliza, let's say you looked at the list, and honestly, have you thought about putting them in the same story? What about if he's the suitable savior and, he saves her from something? Honestly, if this is... Let's explore this for a minute. Because if it's a princess hero, you're already kind of setting it in, I'm guessing, medieval stuff. If you say princess, it could be medieval. I guess it could be like an Arabian princess. It could be any kind of princess. But regardless, you could have it where the princess is out and about after she's obviously been like, I'm sick of being in the castle, I'm leaving, ran away, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you don't want to be that cliche. But if you do, it's okay, because we could actually, if you want to get crazy with this, if this is you want to have fun and it's a tongue-in-cheek story, you could start throwing things in here, man. You can have a princess hero who's got boots on, but she's got a tiara and a tutu, and she's kind of hardcore, but also really cute. But then she meets up with Space Dino, and then eventually they meet, Techno Man, I don't know. Just another genre mixing thing. You could mix a bunch of genres if you wanted to. But if you are trying to keep it medieval fairy tale, this isn't such a good idea to mix in the Space Dino. But I didn't know if you were going for more of a crazy idea or not. So this is where demographic and genre are important. If you're doing mixed genre and you can throw in a Space Dino and you can throw in a medieval princess, fantasy and all that, go for it. If it's fun and it's for kids and it can be crazy, right? It sounds like a kid's story because it sounds like they wrote it. But if you want to be a little bit more serious about it, maybe get across a couple serious morals about, feminism or something using a princess hero, it's totally up to you and what you're trying to accomplish with the story. Because I feel like everybody who writes a story has a reason for doing that one, right? Even it doesn't have to be crazy deep. It doesn't even have to matter too much, right? As long as it matters to you, that's all that counts, right? This story will actually be in the same universe somewhat as last year's, but only by a tiny, tiny little detail that if you didn't even know the other story, you wouldn't know they're the same place at all. But for those that do know the old story, you're going to get a treat. I want her to set down, and this is always a problem I have actually when I'm doing sequential anything. I've got an animation degree, so I'm thinking too far into motion. So she had the spoon that she was throwing the dewdrop into her bag, and now I have this want to have her set it down and show it being set down, but there's no reason for that. But I'm fighting the urge to do it because I feel like it needs to be seen. But it is kind of weird to go from her having it and it going in the bag to her... See, and I need that in between. Okay, so now... Yeah, this is the reveal shot. This is okay. I'll show her with it, and then I'll show her not with it going for the... Yeah, okay. Hey, see? Okay, so just to, show why it's important to bounce ideas off of people. Okay? The only thing that sucks when you have to bounce ideas off somebody is to catch them up to speed, right? Luckily for you, I'm kind of in that mindset all the time, right? So some of us can't go to... Like, my ex-husband would have been bad for this because he was a programmer. And anytime I asked him art anything, he had no idea. Bless his soul, he's a good guy, but he couldn't do art worth shit. But if I go to Gabe and I just, like, story ideas like mad crazy. Like, for his Journey June, we basically wrote the whole story in 20 minutes because we were going back and forth and we're like, oh, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. And the only reason we can do that and not get overwhelmed or anything is because we've done it so much. So we have an idea of his whole story, but we're cool if it changes. It's alright. If we get to a point where it's like something we figured out didn't work, that's totally fine. Totally fine. But if you have a friend that's kind of got an art mindset, or at least is creative, you know, and likes thinking of things, you know, that like this sort of stuff, maybe try it with them. And say, hey, you know, explain what you're doing, explain what your story is, and be like, here's my problem. So, okay, so Eliza, what if instead of a dinosaur, it's a dragon? Think about it. I mean, dragons are dinosaurs and blah, blah, blah. That could be a really cute team up. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes, and, you know, they don't mean to be mean or anything. They just can't think in that mindset. And that's just different brain thinking, left and right side, right? Like, I can't do math. I can't believe I get my taxes done every year. It's a miracle. It's just some of us are more inclined to be like, hey, story, okay, 20 minutes, whole thing. Some of us can't. And, you know, that sort of thing. It's finding a good person to brainstorm with can be very difficult. It's almost like dating. You know, you got to find someone who kind of understands how you brainstorm too. So a lot of the time, when Gabe and I are brainstorming, I'm a little bit more of an aggressive brainstormer, where I like to just cut the crap. I don't like to sit on anything that doesn't feel right away. And I feel like this is at least a good exercise for anybody to do that wants to get good at brainstorming. If it doesn't feel right away, don't spend time on it. So if he's like, oh, you could do this or this, and I was like, no, not that. That, though, that could be cool. And then you kind of go down that road. You could do this, oh, but then you got to do that, and now that one doesn't work. And you keep going, right? But it is kind of good to, if you can, record what you've thought of so you don't revisit that again in case it doesn't work, that sort of thing. Anyway, rambling again. Ooh. So Eliza, would a dragon work? Or did it have to be a space dino? Also, I had to figure out a good ratio of this bag to her. It still doesn't really make sense yet, but because she's so tiny. Like, how can this bag not be hella heavy, girl? You know? Yeah, no, this is great. Is this helping anybody else in the chat, too, to see us kind of go back and forth? Does that help? I don't see how it could hurt. Yeah, Eliza, go for it. Keep going. This is great. This stuff is what I live for. You know, this is why I feel more like a storyteller than I do an illustrator. And for a while with the friends that I was surrounding myself with, I felt very out of place because I was like, I don't want to make tons of prints. I don't want to make them at different sizes and put them on different things. I don't want to do that. I want to make books. And a big question, I feel like, as a freelance artist to ask yourself is, what do I want to see most? You know, do you want to see prints? Do you want to see mugs and merch and stuff? Do you want to see books? Do you want to see jewelry? Like, what do you see yourself holding the most of where you're the most proud? And really, that's going to kind of drive you in a certain, you know, direction, depending on, you know, where you want to put your efforts. Because once you go freelance as an artist, you cannot waste your time. You need to figure out right away what you're doing. Why are you barking? Oh, you warm? You want to go on your cooling mat? You're really warm, honey. Hold on, guys. Here. You want a cheddar cookie? You want a cheese cookie? They're not real cookies, they're just biscuits. I call them cookies. Come here, honey. Cheese cookie, come here. Come on, you're cool. Come here. Yeah, you're too warm. You're sleeping on fur. Come here. You sit? You sit? Good girl. Get it out. There we go. Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. Dumpling warrior? That one's really cute. That would be a really nice simple one. I mean, depending on what era they are. I mean, it could be really easy to draw. Yeah, dumplings. I got hung up on that for a second too when you said dumpling. Eliza, out of all of these, sorry, my camera's being stupid. Out of all these ideas you've got, are any of them more exciting to you than others? Do any of them rev you up noticeably more than the other ones? I want dumplings too. Well, you probably don't want to do a story about a food you always want. That's not going to help in the long run. You're going to get fat from your story. Oh, I finished my prop for the day. I get 2 dumplings today. I want dumplings. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to stop the stream probably at 7, if not earlier if Gabe wants it, because I have to drive Gabe to the train station because he has to go downtown Chicago for tomorrow, for the weekend, for cake. So, which Chicago Art and Comics Expo cake. Now I want cake. Cake and dumplings, baby. Make it happen. It's Friday. Go crazy. I love it. Whenever I want something, like, I'm like, oh, Gabe, I really want this thing. He's like, hey, man, it's Tuesday. Go crazy. He just has, like, this stupid excuse of why I should do it. You know, it's Tuesday. You work hard. You work hard. You can do it. It's a really bad mindset, really. It's a get fat quick scheme. But it's cute. We're at the point, too, where, and this sucks, where our bodies are kind of going to shit. And I thought this was a myth. I thought, you know, oh, everybody says after 30, you know, you kind of start breaking down. It's true. It is true. And I was like, no way. And I cannot lose weight similar to when, like, I'm doing the exact same thing I did when I was losing 50 pounds. And I lost 50 pounds just like when I was like 25. Because I was like 180, so I got down to 130. And I'm trying to do that now. I can't. I'm too big now, or too old now to do that. Like my metabolism or something. So we're at the point where we're like, you know, we eat healthy. We don't have the best bodies, but we don't have the worst bodies. And, you know, we're okay with kind of whatever, I guess. Yeah, all those fad diets. The only true diet that actually works and is safe is caloric deficit. Okay, so like you burn 600 calories on a elliptical and you're 600 calories in, you know, a deficit, so you eat your normal stuff and stay in a deficit and you'll lose weight. Intermittent fasting, depending on what kind of body you have, is not necessarily good for you. And unless you go talk to a doctor about it, you're not supposed to really do it. There is that fasting, though, where it's like a 12-hour window, if that's what you're talking about, Waffles. And that one I think is okay, but it's hard. Especially when you don't, your normal day isn't like, you know, you wake up when everybody else wakes up and you go to bed at like 10 or 11. Like, that's not really us. Are you being difficult? Hold on. I know you want to play, but I'm streaming. Can't exactly play right now, honey. Yeah, it doesn't really work for me either, because I really like food. And I mean, you can you can like train yourself to not eat as much. Stop it. Sorry, I'm trying to get her to not. Here, ready? 1, 2, 3. Go get it. I'm trying to get her to stop barking. Hold on. Hey, come on. Come here. Come here. Come on. This is why Papa's watching you. I'm gonna take you out. Yeah, I don't think it works for everybody, but I have, like, there's some diets I can't do because I'm a vegetarian, and diets just in general aren't, A, they're not a good word to use, and B, they're usually, like, since the word diet has us thinking it's only for a short time and then that's it, that's already setting you up for failure. You're supposed to think of it more as a lifestyle change and not use the word diet even. So, I'm a calorie counter, and it works for me. It's just harder, like, right now than it ever has been when I was younger. It works, but it's just, I can tell there's a difference because I'm older. But anyway. I mean, maintenance is still good, though, Serenity, because think about it, you'd be gaining if you weren't staying, I guess. Wait, okay, so this is a consistency thing. You want to look back. Okay, she was on the edge of a leaf here. So that's where she still is. So I need to make sure. I was going to draw it the other way, which I could go back and change that one, but I think I'm just going to keep this way. And I had set it up where the leaf earlier had 2 drops on it. So the fact this one is a bit higher, she'll need to pull on it and bring it down more for her to eat it. You're a fat worm. Serenity, shut up. You know what? When people say they are fat, like, I'll say I'm fat sometimes. I don't mean like I'm obese really or anything. I'm sure I'm a little obese. But when I say it, I just mean I'm big, too big than I'd like to be for my frame. That's all I mean. And I think a lot of people mean that. And it sucks, though, when you say you're fat and someone next to you is like 400 pounds. I did that at one point accidentally. Usually I'm a little bit more tactful about the words I choose around people. But I was like not thinking at that time, like, oh, I feel so fat right now, and she's like 400 pounds, and I just mean like I feel too big for my body, you know, that has no semblance on what I think of you or your body. If you're happy, you do what you do, but I just felt really bad because I could tell she, like, it affected her, and I was, we make mistakes, right? We say dumb things sometimes. It doesn't mean we're dumb people. It just means sometimes things are spur of the moment stupid. Oh, but see, Serenity, that's not your fault. That's the meds. You gotta be nicer to yourself about stuff like that. Like, even birth control pills give you weight gain. Like, everything, you know, adds into it, but it doesn't mean that, you know, you're uglier or something because of that, you know. I think you're very pretty. Doesn't matter. Your weight really doesn't matter. It matters how you feel about it, right? And like I said, I feel fat because I'm not comfortable in my body right now. I'm okay with it. It's strong. That's the problem. So I look big, and I want to be more slim, but I've just been bulking up too much, which happens if you work out a lot and you eat a lot of calories, technically, because you're getting more protein, you're building more muscle, where I need to just eat lean things and lean out, but easier said than done, let me tell you. Gabe, your phone rang or something. Dinged. So now she's gonna pull it down. Oh, I like that. I like the idea of this little droplet running down the leaf. What?
So we're gonna be out the door by 7.
By 7? I thought you said it runs till 10.
It does, but then if I leave at 10 and get there at like...
No, I don't expect you to leave at 10, but like...
It takes like 2 hours to get to the city.
2 hours? So when do you want me to stop? Now? Like how much?
Whenever you feel comfortable to leave by 7.
How much do you have left to do?
Just gotta pack up a
Like a time worth.
maybe about that much time.
Did you check the mail again?
No, I did that here.
Can you go check the? Yeah. All right. Yeah, and that's the funny thing, Serenity. Like, I've probably gone in the past 10 years. I've did a weight back and forth probably about 3 or 4 times. And it was through a wedding, through a divorce, through like moving, going to different, like stopping careers, like tons of things can affect how you do you know, and sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's not. And you just have to roll with it and be like, well, you know, I'll eventually get better. It's kind of like your journey June. It'll get better. Right now it's rough, you know? But don't beat yourself up, okay? Don't do that. Because you are wonderful and you'll get there. Just be patient with yourself. Be nice to yourself. In the down low, can I send it to you guys after, or do y'all prefer Insta post? Okay, Eliza. So this is a good question. We like to say to post them, because it's good for you to get used to posting bad art and good art, you know, because people will like your bad art and you'll hate your bad art, and they'll like your bad art and they'll hate your good art sometimes. Like, it doesn't matter. So posting just gets you in the mode to post whatever. But since it's you're used to posting almost everything. So I'm gonna say for you specifically, if you do just want to keep it on the DL, because you are doing Junicorn too, right? So I could see you doing, like, not wanting to mess up your Junicorn posts with intermittent Journey June. So I also told people if they want to make another Instagram account for their Journey Junes, go for it. If you don't want to mess up a current account, I get it. I'm struggling with it, but I get it. And if you'd rather do it that way, at least keeping it online somewhere. You could even keep it private if you want, or have like a Tumblr that's private, whatever, and then give it to us at the end. You can totally do that. As long as we have access to it. It's way better to do something on the internet, like a hashtag or something, instead of sending us files at the end. That's kind of what we want to avoid. Like, we usually say, oh, you can make a PDF or whatever, but if you can just put it together on the web somewhere, that's preferred 1,000,000%. So no, Eliza, I don't think you would. It's okay. Yeah, Serenity. I'm in the exact same boat. Oh my god. So I should be 130 or at least 140, but I am like 170 right now, and my fattest was 180. But I don't look anything like when I was close to 180 because I'm actually stronger now. So it's actually muscle, but my muscle is bulky and I look big and I want to be slim. And I have that body type, but it's just hard to get back to. But I know how that feels with your clothes. Ugh. None of my clothes fit, and it's not because I'm fat, it's because I got thick thighs right now, and they're solid. It's just... So, like, I'm a size 12 in pants right now because my butt and my thighs are stupid. It's just what it is, you know? But if you gotta buy some... Here's what I learned. I bought the size 12 pants when I was trying too hard to fit into the size 10s, and I was like, this is just... It's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes when you just give in and you buy the size you are, you feel better about it, A, because you're comfortable, but B, you can actually look slimmer if you're wearing clothes that fit. It's funny, but it works. A lot of people just don't do that. You know, some people spilling out of their clothes and stuff just don't get bigger ones that would suit them better. So, yeah, I think it would probably feel better for you to get the clothes that fit, because like I said, I caved in and I bought the size 12 pants, and I'm so much happier I did. Plus, once I start losing the weight again, it'll be pretty easy to go below those, you know? So then you'll be like, then you got some fat pants for the times when you feel fat. There's no, bad thing here. So, I don't know. I know that might be a little bit more difficult, though, for people who maybe have, like, day jobs and stuff. Honestly, I wear pajamas all the time. So, I have one pair of jeans I use. If I go outside, if I go outside to somewhere where people see me, if I go outside, I'm just still wearing my PJs. But, freelance. Anyway. I'm glad that's at least soothing to hear. But yeah, Eliza, if you just want to, like, put them somewhere online, that's fine. Do you want me to stop soon?
6:30 probably.
6:30. Okay, you guys, I'm going to be stopping at around 6:30 so I can take Gabe to the train station. So he'll be at Cake this weekend in Chicago. So if anybody's in Chicago, wants to go see Gabe, go to Cake. It's cool because it's like a comics zine fest type thing. Hey, Moltar! How you doing, man? I still have to look through and go find that Twitch stream, but it's not Rosemont. No, I think, Gabe, is it Chicago proper?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actual Chicago. So, and we're in Geneva. So he's got a little bit of a train ride down there, but no, it's in Chicago. It's tomorrow, and do you know where it is? Like the center?
It's called Center on Halstead.
Halstead?
Center on Halstead.
Halstead?
Halstead, that's the name of the place.
Center at Halstead.
It's further north. It's by Wrigleyville.
By Wrigleyville. Serenity wishes you a safe trip. Yes. Yeah, north. Yeah, Eliza, Tumblr would totally be fine. Just make sure to still use a hashtag that's yours, because some people I think are still using Tumblr for during June 19. So do like JJ Eliza 2 or something. That way I'll be able to find it. Some of these things I just want to all-out animate. Does anybody else have Journey June questions, or isn't feeling it yet, or doesn't get something? I think you guys are doing pretty good, though. After talking to you, you get it. Eliza, it's me too. You got me in the dumpling mode. So tomorrow, if anybody wants to put on Instagram post notifications for Journey June, every day I'm posting, just like last year technically, the prompt for that day, some questions to ask yourself, some examples, and then some rules at the bottom or whatever. But it should help. So it'll come up, to remind you just in case you forget. But yeah. Oh, you're doing the intermittent Serenity. That gets hard. I found though that if you are doing that way, it is good to find like a tea or like a low-calorie fruit that if you do need something that you can drink or eat that. Or like broth. You can usually drink broth. because it gives you kind of sustenance, but you know, it's not that huge dip in your caloric intake, that sort of thing. So I have to start treating after doing 9 of these now. The clover is ending up to be more like a poncho. So now that I know that, after doing a few of these, it makes a lot more sense then. Gabe, you locked her in. Oh. Analysis paralysis. Sometimes wobbles, but man, like it's on a person-to-person basis, let me tell you. Lots of water doesn't always do it for me, that's for sure. Some people just have different metabolisms, things like that. It's tough. I mean, just bring her in here, she'll be fine. For a bit. Something else I struggled to deal with is the fact that I kind of call it baby art, but just because it's so cute and it's cutesy, I enjoy drawing art like this that's cute, and I like cute things, and I've had friends tell me that, you know, they don't like my art because it's too cute, and I'm okay with that. Like, it took a while to be okay with that, but it's like, if that's what you like to draw, you know, screw what other people think, right? They're gonna like what they like. So, it's just one of those things, like, I'm not gonna change what I'm doing just because, you know, it's not dark enough or any crap like that. Because eventually I'll find someone that's into it kind of like I am, you know? Or at least that's the hope. And that's why you kind of gotta get outside your comfort zone sometimes and go to, like, you know, a con or something to find people that like your stuff. Because the internet can do it, but it's not the greatest at it, let's be honest. But that was something I kind of struggled with for a bit, because I was like, well, I can do more serious fantasy, and, you know, sometimes I do, but I don't know, I just dig really cute things, and a lot of the time people need to understand that just because you draw like this doesn't mean that you can't draw better than this, you know? It's just this is why I choose to draw with the skills I have. It doesn't mean I don't have other, you know, styles or skills that I can do. I think people are afraid sometimes to admit what they like to do because it's not what's popular. Stuff like that. And especially with, you know, the people I surround myself with, I feel a lot of pressure a lot of the time because it is like gallery art. And I'm not doing that. I'm not like a full-blown illustrator. I'm more of a storyteller. You know, I'd rather make books than prints. And after I made that realization, things got a little easier. And I think that's important for people to think about what they like to do, what, you know, and what the standards are they're holding themselves to. Hey, no, none of that. You want to play with this? No, you should play with that. Okay. Oh, I know. Here. This is what it's gonna be. Play that. For 20 minutes. Exactly. That's exactly right, Moltar. I agree. Yeah, Moltar's right about the cravings thing. What's funny is once I started eating better and counting calories and just eating more vegetables and stuff, my cravings went away. Like, which was a blessing and a curse, because then I wouldn't binge stuff, but then I never knew what to eat because I didn't have cravings anymore. So I didn't want sugar, I didn't want savory, I didn't care, which for me was nutso bananas, you know. So once you get to that point, then it's just kind of whatever you can muster, I guess. Eliza, I'm more confused why there's not something like, is this because you draw so many different things, monthly challenges? What do you like to draw? Like, if you could draw something for the rest of your life, what would it be? What are you happiest drawing? Because I think you should think more about that for your hero rather than thinking of ideas for a hero. Search yourself a little bit more. Find out, because you do so many of these monthly challenges that you've gone so outside your comfort zone that you have no comfort zone. Or if you do, you don't know where it is anymore or what it is. So maybe pull back a bit and kind of search yourself. What's your favorite stuff? Go back to figuring out what your favorite stuff is. Because yeah, because you're going like sci-fi, you're going fantasy, you went food to the dumpling guy. What do you want to draw? You know, here, ask yourself this question too. What would you want to draw over and over and over for 30 days? You have to like your hero, I'm telling you guys. If you don't like them, you're going to be upset because you got to draw them for a month. So make sure you like them and there's something that you're kind of, you know, obviously passionate about. But maybe you're just too used to doing a bunch of different stuff. Like, I'm worried that you've done so many monthly challenges that maybe actually try to do Journey June, like hardcore, think about it, and see if you like doing it. Now that, like, let's get you a good hero, and if you don't like doing the same thing over and over for a month, never do Journey June again, I swear. Don't do it again. Because that might also mean you're not a storyteller, and that's okay. You're an illustrator. You found that out. That's important too. There's no shame in that. But we got to find that out. But the only way to really find that out accurately is to make sure we get you a good hero that you like and have you do it over and over and over again. I'm having fun thinking of the squash and stretch of these droplets. This makes me happy. You're worried about that too? Oh. Well, give it a try. You never know till you try it, right? I'm glad my idea worked with her. If even for a couple minutes. This is one of those things you can do too if there's kind of like a sequence of, I guess animation, I want to say animation, action, that's happening kind of in the same vicinity. You can kind of just show it happening in the same spot sometimes. Further down. That's a great question, Serenity. It's actually a loaded one for me because it actually took me a while to come to terms with it. Because I was so proud of being a jack of all trades for probably around a decade, because that was my job. Being at the game company I was at, I was wearing so many hats. I was doing sound, I was doing animation, character art, backgrounds, animation, just everything, right? 3D. I was even doing some Unity tech stuff. Like, I was all over the board, and I was proud of that because at the job I was at, that was very valuable. I was invaluable to the company because I was doing about the work of 8 different people. And because of that, I felt cool, right? I was owning it. But depending where you are, I think it's going to vary, because in the freelance world, what I've learned after I quit the 9-to-5 40-hour week career thing and I switch over to this is so much more of a specialized industry that you kind of do have to at least not be completely one way, but have products. You almost have to think in terms of products. So the jack of all trades it's different in this aspect. Now I'm a lot more focused on the mediums I'm using and the styles I choose to do. But I think it really depends on where you are, because a jack of all trades in a certain industry could be very valuable, but depending on what you want to do, West Coast, a lot of the game jobs and stuff are very specialist oriented. Like, you're a lighting guy, you're a rigging guy, you're an animation guy. Like, you're one of those. And that's like your job, is to do that one thing. You're a cog in the machine. That's what you wanted to do. That's what you're doing. You're a specialist. And a lot of people are happy with that. It really depends on who you are, too. If you like kind of getting thrown into different situations, different thing every day, you could be a jack of all trades and be happy. But like I said, it's really going to depend on your job and your personality. If you like monotony or routine, that sort of thing. It's funny because monotony and routine are basically the same thing to different people, different goods or bads. Anyway, hi Sniggle. But like I said, depending on what you want to do, Serenity, like, let's take Tim for example. Since you know Tim, I know Tim. Tim does pencil art, and he has focused, like laser focused now on pencil art, and that is his thing. And now in this industry, he's becoming the new pencil guy next to like Alan Williams and stuff. He's the graphite go-to, right? And that's very valuable because of where he's at in that industry. You know, he's carved himself a hole. If you're a jack of all trades, think about if you are digging holes. You know, you're focused on one hole. If you're a specialist, you're a jack of all trades, you're kind of dipping into a bunch. And in the freelance landscape, haha, that works into the analogy. In that landscape, you're not making much of a dent anywhere because you're kind of dabbling in a bunch of things. That's kind of Gabe and my problem. We are kind of jack of all trades. We specialize in the storytelling aspect, but we really dabble in whatever we feel like at the time, right? But because of that, we don't get much ground because we're not sinking all of our time into one specific type of thing. But that's just kind of who we are. We like jumping around, going with, you know, whatever we're feeling at the time. Like, if I had to do pencil art for a month straight, even, that's not me. That's not me, right? But Tim, that's all he wants to do. And that's cool because that works for him. But you need to figure out, and this is the hardest thing for any artist, figure out what you want to do because of who you are, right? You have to think of who you are and how you're going to work the best and how a certain way of living is going to fit you the best. Does that make sense? I know that's a total 50-50 answer, but really it is 50-50, depending on who you are and what you want to do. But like I said, if you don't care about being popular or anything, I mean, that's kind of us. We're just jack of all trades because I think we're doing what we want. I have come back a little bit more from being a jack of all trades, but I'm still dabbling in a lot of stuff. I'm not laser focused on one thing, you know. Eliza, and that's what I've been trying to get at, because I think you've done so many monthly challenges, you don't have that one thing that's yours. And for Journey June, that's what I want you to kind of look for, is figuring out that hero that is very you, that you want to do. Because like I said, you were in fantasy, you were in sci-fi, you were in Dumplingville. You know, you got to figure out, are you a fantasy artist primarily? Like, that's where I can be like, all right, I'm a fantasy artist. Gabe is sci-fi. For the most part, that's where we stay. Sometimes we dabble into different things, like Gabe dabbles into like sci-fi fantasy, but primarily, what are you? Like, what can you identify with? And that's hard. That can be really hard, and that can take years to get to, because I used to be 100% sci-fi over a decade ago. Now I'm not, and no one would know that now, and not a lot of people do. Sniggle, sniggle. Eliza, I know it sounds crazy, but maybe after June, I would almost say stop doing monthly challenges for a while. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Because I think you really need to do some soul searching. You've done so many challenges. You've done so many things. You know what's out there. I think you need to actually buckle down and figure out what you like to do. Because once you figure that out, that's going to be very exciting. You know, figuring out what you actually like to do and prefer to do is something that, I don't know, I just feel like you'd be very happy with. And I think you need a break. It's true, Serenity, and it can be nutty. And you know, Gabe and I like to pump out ideas when we get them. And you should be going with, you know, whatever intensity you feel like. If you're hopped up about one thing, go and do it really quick, get it out. But if it's a longer project, know that you're going to have to find some things within it that excite you along the way. And that's another reason we do Journey June, so you can feel there is going to be at least one lull, if not many lulls, during the month where you either lose steam, you lose passion for your project, you don't like it anymore. That's normal. That is like part of having a project, is losing love for it and gaining it back, hopefully through, you know, looking at it again, going and finding what you originally liked about it, finding something new about it, all that kind of stuff is our tactics. Are tactics that actually help you finish it. Because it's the people that push through the hard parts of a project to get to the end that get rewarded with the final product. Where a lot of people don't make it to the end, when they get to one of these hard parts, these walls in the project, they think that's where it ends and they just quit. No, that's a wall you have to get over to earn the ending. You know, at least finish it. Even if you hate it, finish it. Okay? Just do it, because you're either going to find love for it again at some point and be glad you at least finished it, or you're going to at least have earned something, you know? Sorry, learned something. Finnegan, hi. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, Eliza, if you don't want to do it this year, then I say take next year off. Take next year off, not only figure out what you want to do, but also take a minute to reflect on all those other, she's playing with toys and yelling at him. It's a chicken butt. She's got a chicken butt. And take time to actually put together all those books of all the monthly challenges. This is something Gabe and I learned this year, is to make new content, we have to take time off of cons to actually put stuff together that we've been thinking about doing, or else it's never going to get done. You need to take breaks, similar to a computer, where you need to defragment and like reorganize so that you can go forward more clean. You know, does that make sense? Like, it's important to stop and reorganize stuff so that, you know, think about you're building a castle. You're building it really fast with a bunch of bricks, and some are out of place, and you're like, whatever, I just got to get it done. And you get it done, you have to go back and set those into place, or else your foundation is going to be messed, right? So this is similar to that, where I think you're at a point, you've done so many of these damn things, you could make 10 books, you know, of just monthly challenges. Make an art book to show I did all these things, and also take time to figure out what kind of artist you are, because you could be at a turning point where the next thing you do is totally you. You know, no one's telling you prompts, no one's telling you do these sorts of things or whatever. It's going to be you, and I think you need that. I really think you've been doing monthly challenges for so long. It's very impressive, but at the same time, artists need renaissances. You know, you need a rebirth, and I think usually comes every year or two, I feel like. In some way. It doesn't have to be huge, but little ones. And I think artists should have that, because if you're doing the same thing years down the line, you're not really growing. And that's what artists do. You're supposed to grow, you know? Find new things, try new things, experiment.
It's like you've been training for a battle that you still haven't fought.
Yeah, you've got all these skills and all these weapons and whatever, and you know how to use them all, but you haven't even gone to battle yet. So it's almost like, I hope Journey June could maybe even be that battle for you in a sense. Because this is going to be hard for you. It's totally different than your other challenge, you know, mindset, because it is just thinking. It's not just, you know, these sorts of things. Okay, I got 5 minutes left before I gotta take Gabe to the train station. Do you guys have questions? Lay them on me. I'll try to rapid fire, if you got them. So obviously these shots are going to have a lot more foliage, a lot more leaves, a lot more sticks, a lot more blah 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 blah. But the only thing that matters right now is this stuff. When will the JJ pens be available? They're supposed to be today, but did you check the mail again?
Earlier.
But you said you had checked the door and then you were going to go check it again? You did? Nothing? They're supposed to be here today, so that means they're coming tomorrow, which is a huge bummer because Gabe can't bring them then to the con with him. And I used all day yesterday making backings for both, because we're getting two. Gabe's got his own pen, and then we made a Journey June one. So probably by Monday I'll have a listing up. Yeah, because Serenity, I've got a big package coming for you. It's gonna be like a giant box. So yeah, hopefully latest Monday, because we gotta look at them. I'm nervous because I hope they got the colors right. But yeah, I'll let you guys know though. Hang tight on my Instagram. Oh, it'd be cute if she was holding her spoon. For me, this is pretty new. I don't usually do girl characters, honestly. So having a more cute kind of character I can kind of play with is kind of interesting. Yeah, Serenity, we can put one aside. I think we ordered about 100 of them, so we should be good for a bit. Okay, I think we're pretty good to go. So for me, for this first day, for prompt 1, I mean, this would do. I might redo this bottom one. I don't know if I like that. The pose is crap. So it'd probably be at least 6 of these. But if I wanted to, I could just boil it down to probably this one. You know. Oh, see? Consistency error. I gotta have the spoon somewhere. Okay. When's the mermaid coloring book? That one, within the next month for sure. I've got to put it together and actually make it. But that one should be soon. I have to put up the last 2 drawings for it. Because I ran out of ideas, so, and I figured, well, it's already done. I mean, it's basically big enough. So I did the final image, and I'm doing one for the back cover, and then I just need to put in the text, and then format it, and then basically print it out, cut it, staple it. So within a month, to be safe. If I pushed, I could get it done in 2 weeks, but I'm starting doing 50 commissions by September, starting tomorrow. So this is going to be interesting. I've got a couple commissions to finish that, like Moltar, yours, both yours, and then I'm starting up my giant commission list again. So I took some time off. I feel a little good about it. Anyway, okay. If anybody, is it going to be digital or on paper? I'll probably do both. Honestly, if you just want a digital one, that might be quicker, but you're not going to have the nice paper that I prefer, so you could do like wet mediums, you know? Because I'm probably going to put it on the same paper as my other coloring book. I'll have to do the numbers and figure out if that's actually doable, because that paper's kind of expensive. Anyway, I'll figure it out. If you have more questions, DM me on either my account on Cloverkin or down Journey Through June. For those coming in, here are my socials, and here's info on Journey June. Oh, yeah, Eliza, I could totally do that for you. Yeah, I figured I could do a digital one anyway, so if you do want a digital one, it'll be a PDF most likely. Or I guess I'll see if I can do 2 things. If I can do like separate pages, so you could just pull one in to Photoshop, like JPEGs. I'll see if Etsy allows me to do that. If it doesn't, I'll just send a link or something. But anyway, if anybody does have any more questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always open to answer questions. I'm happy to. So good luck with your first day tomorrow. All right, Journey June starts tomorrow. You can do this. It's not that bad. It's so easy. All right. Just keep thinking. Anytime you get overwhelmed, just remind yourself, this is so easy. Why am I stressing out? Just draw something. That's it. Just tell yourself that and just do it, and then post it and walk away. That's all you got to do. Me too, Wobbles. Thank you, thank you. Enjoy your weekend, guys. See you later.